Which episode of the original Star Trek was so bad that Leonard Nimoy was still embarrassed about it years after the fact? And why did one Walking Dead star almost quit acting entirely? Keep watching to find out. Few people have been in more Star Trek projects than Jonathan Frakes. This means that despite all the wonderful memories as Will Riker, Frakes also remembers a whole lot of bad moments. For instance, Frakes himself called the Next Generation episode Code of Honor a horrible racist episode, and allegedly tried to get it pulled from syndication. However, the scenes he regrets the most aren't in The Next Generation. Instead, they come in his one-episode appearance in Enterprise, where he provided the framing story for the series finale, These Are the Voyages. The problem? Frakes feels that his presence was a disservice to the regular cast of the show, as Riker permeates the episode, appearing at dramatic times that should belong to other characters, like the traumatic death of Commander Trip Tucker. Even the last line of dialogue in the entire series is spoken by Riker, rather than one of the show's regular cast members.
Computer. End program.
Frakes has called it an unpleasant memory. In 2011, he told fans at Central Canada Comic Con, "They said it would be a Valentine to the fans, but all it ended up doing, I think, was hurting Scott Bakula's feelings. He was such a gentleman about it, and I said to Scott, this is weird for me to be on your show. I wasn't crazy about it." Bakula himself has never spoken about the finale, but the tensions were clearly there, as writer-producer Brandon Braga called it, "the only time Scott Bakula was ever mean to me." Though Enterprise is often considered a low part of Trek's history, many fans still have an affection for it, and few characters from the series get more love than Trip Tucker, played by Connor Trinneer. But Trinneer wasn't happy with his character's pointless death, and his biggest issue with it had nothing to do with Riker looming in the background. Instead, it was just the disappointing way Trip died, blowing himself up to take out 3 randos. As Trinneer told Trek Today, "I've gotten out of much worse scrapes than that." Malcolm McDowell played one of the most important villains in Star Trek history. As Dr. Tolian Soren in Star Trek Generations, he was the force that united Jean-Luc Picard and James T. Kirk. He was also the man who kinda killed Kirk, using a delayed response bridge collapse. As it turns out, McDowell thought that was pretty stupid. In 2011, he told StarTrek.com, "If you have this icon of American television, why the hell didn't they give him a spectacular death? Why did they give him such a really paltry death? Me shooting the bridge out or some BS, whatever it was? They should have sent him off in a glorious fashion, and they didn't." The scene originally had Soren shoot Kirk in the back before reshoots. McDowell also found this disappointing, and he lamented that they couldn't figure out a better death. He told Metro, "It was feeble, I thought, because I thought he deserved better." William Shatner has spent decades as one of the faces of Star Trek, and when you're the head honcho of the USS Enterprise, this comes with many great moments, but it also comes with many deeply embarrassing ones. Some of these were a product of the time period, others were a product of Shatner's own ego, but the scene he publicly regrets most is his final scene. When asked by Crave Online whether he was satisfied with Kirk's death in Star Trek Generations, Shatner replied, No, I would have done something else." According to Shatner, the suits at Paramount figured the Star Trek franchise might make a lot more money if they included the Next Generation cast. They also allegedly reasoned that there wasn't much milk left in the original series cash cow, so it was a perfect time for Kirk to meet Picard. And they also wanted to kill off Kirk in order to raise the stakes and signal a permanent changing of the guard. Shatner told TrekMovie.com that he was presented with 2 options. "It was either I was going to appear and die, or they were going to say he died, so I chose the more practical of the 2. Between the lackluster reviews and the pathetic death, Shatner wasn't happy. He said, "I wish that there had been more trumpets for the death of the character."
It was fun.
As Spock, Leonard Nimoy was there for many of Star Trek's greatest moments. It's easy to picture him performing a Vulcan nerve pinch or explaining how the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. But he was also front and center for one of Trek's worst hours, Spock's Brain, an episode that was deeply embarrassing for him. Though it aired a half-century ago, perhaps no episode has come to symbolize Trek at its worst more than Spock's Brain. The episode sees Spock's brain surgically removed and kidnapped by an alien species. Vulcan physiology lets their bodies stay alive for 24 hours without a brain, so Kirk goes hunting for it. Even for 60s sci-fi, that was a bridge too far. In his autobiography, I Am Spock, Nimoy singled it out as a particularly painful memory, writing, Frankly, during the entire shooting of that episode, I was embarrassed, a feeling that overcame me many times during the final season of Star Trek. Though Deep Space Nine is considered the gritty Star Trek, it still had a fair number of off-putting moments, including some from no-nonsense Commander Benjamin Sisko. When asked at a convention what his least favorite scenes were, Avery Brooks said it was a toss-up between two choices. The first was Move Along Home, in a scene that even the Deep Space Nine documentary What We Left Behind called out as the worst scene in the series.
Alamarin, count to four, Alamarin, then three more, Alamarin, then three more.
He knew right away that he'd never live it down, saying, "There's nothing wrong with the melody, it's the hopscotch part." The second was Apocalypse Rising, in which he played a Klingon, which involved enough prosthetics that it necessitated a dentist appointment. But while he didn't want to do it, Brooks had no choice. He said, "The resistance you observe with Sisko playing a Klingon was real." Dr. Julian Bashir initially received some backlash from Deep Space Nine fans. He was seen by some as boring, brash, and, worst of all, kind of annoying. But while the producers had a plan to make him more interesting, they didn't run it by actor Alexander Siddig first. The episode Dr. Bashir, I presume, reveals that Bashir was genetically modified as a child, which made him much smarter. But Siddig didn't learn about this plot development until the day before shooting. He was upset that the producers wouldn't go over a major character arc with the actor actually playing the character. So he staged his own personal protest. He told TrekMovie.com, "I did it the only way that an actor can. I completely destroyed the lines that they gave me regarding the situation." He tanked the storyline, putting no effort into it, going so far as to pin the lines up on set so he could just read them instead of memorize them. It might have been petty, but it was probably pretty satisfying nonetheless. Few Star Trek characters were more grounded than Next Generation's Dr. Beverly Crusher, except of course that one time she fell in love with a ghost in a magic lamp. Sub Rosa is often listed as one of the worst episodes of The Next Generation. An attempt at gothic romance in space, the story, in somewhat reductive terms, involves Beverly falling in love with a ghost inhabiting a lamp. It's worth mentioning that this lamp ghost has also seduced several generations of her family. Needless to say, actress Gates McFadden found the whole concept absurd. In 2012, she told the crowd at Austin Comic Con, "I was reading this going, this woman became a doctor and she's in love with a lamp?
I love lamp." Do you really love the lamp, or are you just saying it because you saw it?
I love lamp. I love lamp.
Armin Shimmerman is best known as Quark on Deep Space Nine, but years before DS9 was ever conceived, he had a part as a Ferengi on The Next Generation. Not just any Ferengi either, but one of the first ones ever put to screen. And he regrets every second of it. The Ferengi were introduced in The Last Outpost, just a few episodes into the new series. The Ferengi were meant to be menacing, threatening, and anything but funny. Nonetheless, they came across as comical, and the episode is held in low regard to this day. Their credibility as villains tanked, and they were mostly comic relief until Deep Space Nine. Shimmerman blamed himself, telling GameSpot, "No one bears the brunt of that mistake more than I do." So Shimmerman approached Quark as an attempt to salvage the Ferengi. All of my work on Deep Space Nine for the first 4 seasons was me trying to eradicate that original performance from everyone's mind. One of the all-time great comedic actresses, Teri Garr, has played in classics like Tootsie and Young Frankenstein. She also played Roberta Lincoln in Assignment Earth, the season 2 finale of the original series. It was one of her first speaking parts, and she later credited it in her autobiography with getting her real roles. That doesn't mean she liked it or even wants to talk about it, though. Gene Roddenberry intended Assignment Earth to be a backdoor pilot to a new series, hedging his bets in case Star Trek got canceled. Ultimately, Star Trek got a 3rd season and Assignment Earth remained a standalone episode. But years later, when interviewed for Starlog magazine, Garr said, "I did that years ago, and I mostly deny I ever did it." Exactly why Garr disliked the experience so much is unclear, though producer Bob Justman said in his book Inside Star Trek that Gene Roddenberry pushed to have Garr wear a shorter and more revealing skirt. Whatever happened, it was enough to sour her on the whole franchise and fanbase. She was glad Assignment Earth never launched, saying, "Otherwise, all I would get would be Star Trek questions for the rest of my natural life, and probably my unnatural life. You ever see those people who are Star Trek fans? The same people who go to swap meets." You'd be forgiven for missing the fact that Jeffrey Dean Morgan appeared as an alien in the Enterprise episode Carpenter Street, as he was completely buried in makeup, and he hated the entire experience. In 2003, Morgan's career wasn't doing so well, and he needed work, so he took a role in Enterprise. He expected to do some line readings. Instead, he got 4 hours a day in a makeup chair. He told Entertainment Weekly, "I remember them dripping goop on my face, and I had straw sticking out of my nose. I couldn't eat lunch, I was claustrophobic, I'd go home in tears. The whole process was so miserable he almost quit acting. Luckily he didn't, and the job helped him stay afloat until better things came along."
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Garrett Wang doesn't openly regret many scenes he played as Ensign Harry Kim. Rather, he regrets the scenes he didn't get to play, namely any as a senior officer. Wang still takes umbrage with the fact that Harry remained an ensign throughout Star Trek Voyager, telling StarTrek.com, "I mean, come on people, Kim was probed, beaten, tortured, and held the distinction of being the first Voyager crew member to die and come back to life. What more does a guy have to do to get promoted to lieutenant for frack's sake?" Wang called writer-producer Brandon Braga during the 4th season to ask why Harry hadn't been promoted. He was told, quote, "Well, somebody's gotta be the ensign." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite sci-fi franchises are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.